Michael Chertoff, chairman of the Chertoff Group and also former U.S. Homeland Security Secretary. Mr. Secretary, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be on.
In terms of the attacks on corporations, certainly there have been many high-profile attacks against the oil industry, against a lot of the majors in Silicon Valley. What's finally going to get regulators and legislators involved in this issue?
Well, I think we're going to see some action, hopefully, in the first part of next year, because I think members of Congress on both sides of the aisle are now dumbfounded at the amount of intellectual property that is being stolen from our country, and that strikes directly at the ability to create jobs and be competitive internationally.
There have been a lot of companies out there, security companies, cybersecurity companies, doing a lot of legwork to try and track who are the perpetrators of these events. Do you think that the State Department's response is going to help in this, because a lot of the proposed perpetrators are countries like China?
Well, one of the challenges, of course, is that many of the hackers and thieves are operating from overseas, and they're outside the reach of our own legal system. You know, there was a recent report by the National Counterintelligence Executive that singled Russia and China as the two countries from which some of the most sophisticated and dangerous attacks come. And it really does become, at some level, a competitiveness issue and a global trade issue.
And in terms of competitiveness, there have been attacks on our own Defense Department, essentially. The Pentagon has gotten attacked. Is there any estimation as to how much has been lost and what intellectual property that belongs to the U.S. government is now in the hands of, let's say, China or Russia, for that matter?
Well, people have characterized the amount of loss as extending into the billions of dollars, and I've seen open source published figures that talk about literally tens of thousands of attacks against the Department of Defense and defense companies every single day. It's very hard to pinpoint a particular piece of technology, but there have been times when you see an aircraft or some device in China that looks suspiciously like something we've developed in the U.S., and people draw their own conclusions.
Mr. Chertoff, a few days ago we had a day when the stock market went down about 1,000 points, and they call it the flash crash. Nobody's been able to properly explain, at least for my benefit, how it happened. Any chance that that was some sort of cyber attack? And if not, is there a chance like something like that could happen again? Do you think our financial markets are properly insulated from something like that?
I can't tell you that there's any basis to say this was a cyber attack, but I can tell you that cyber criminals and hackers do focus on financial markets and other infrastructure as well. You have people who are motivated by ideology, you know, the online equivalent of Occupy Wall Street. You have people who see a way to make money. You know, they have something called outsider trading now, where you hack into a company's database or a law firm's database, you steal information that's market sensitive, and then you trade on it. And that's a serious impact on the integrity of the markets.
This is a trading show, as you know, Mr. Chertoff, so we're interested in where the money is going to be spent in preventing a lot of these attacks. What's your estimate? When you're consulting clients, what are they spending on?
I think it's going to be on a number of things. I think there's going to be a focus on network sensors, on devices and software that can monitor the flow of traffic. I think there's going to be a focus on deep packet inspection, looking into the packets to look for malicious code, as well as big data analytics, taking a lot of data, analyzing it in real time. And finally, forensics, tracking down what's happened, where the intrusion was, and plugging the vulnerability is also going to be an important area of development.
And this is for both private sector as well as U.S. government?
Absolutely. I think the government's going to be very interested in this, but frankly, commercial establishments have their own assets to worry about, and I think they're going to be increasingly in the market for these kinds of tools.
Mr. Chertoff, thanks a lot for joining us. We do appreciate it. Michael Chertoff. Joe.
Well, a couple of names I think